Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's finally time. Patch 2.3 has finally released, or at least it should do by the time that this video goes live. This patch in itself seems to be fairly large, and keep in mind that it's the last major update of 2022. There might be some hotfixes and stuff if anything breaks, but yeah, it's the last one. Anyways, we're going to deep dive, we're going to talk about everything that's coming in. You can already see a little bit of a preview here, you know, like endgame scenarios for multiplayer and stuff, but we're going to get into all the details, we're going to discuss, and let's hope for the best. Yeah, that's probably the best way that we can think about things right now. Also, I've just realized it's November. This is terrifying. Anyways, let's carry on. So a big thing here is that the multiplayer campaigns will also now have customizable endgame scenarios. This is something that's been a while waiting, but it's great because I actually like playing co-op. I play with a few friends every now and then, so having that functionality is a very good thing. And they're also talking about having parity for the future as they introduce further scenarios, which is exciting because the scenarios actually do add a little bit of fun depending on who you play. And yeah, it kind of freshens up your campaign a little bit too. Next is something I wasn't really expecting, which is the 8 original legendary lords for Total War Warhammer have got new faction selection screen videos. Probably not the most important thing, but I guess, you know, keeping everything on par with Game 3, it does kind of make sense. Though I think they were perfectly fine in all honesty, but some of you might think otherwise. And here's where we start getting into the actual meat and potatoes. So stability and performance. Fixed an end of turn crash that would occur during the AI's turn when a rebel faction captures a settlement that toggles technologies for certain races. Okay, so that's what caused it. That's actually pretty interesting. I mean, we knew it was kind of like a rebel faction, but not when it was something like this. This is honestly something that was just surprising, and fixed a rare campaign vortex sound memory leak. No idea, but I guess if it's been reported and it's here, that means that it was a bit of an issue. Now we're going into the gameplay changes. So first with the general updates. Adding a large number of landmarks present in Mortal Empires and the Realm of Chaos map to Immortal Empires and made them available for Warhammer 3 factions where appropriate. This is fantastic because it was a bit of an annoying thing when you'd go with certain factions. You knew where the old school landmarks were and they just weren't there anymore. We did have a mod that kind of fixed that, but yeah, it's here in vanilla now. Added several new landmark variants for monogod factions near their Immortal Empire start locations. Awesome, awesome. This is going to be better for Skarbrand, Kairos, well, Kugath, and hell, even Ikari. This is going to be great. Added a number of 10 slot settlements to Immortal Empires, which had not yet been ported from Mortal Empires or the Realms of Chaos. Fantastic. Again, something that we kind of needed, especially for certain factions that desperately need to make use of 10 slotters. Introduced new landmarks for NURGLE in Gibraltar, Tzeentch in the Golden Tower, Khorne in Galbaraz, and finally Slaanesh in Tor Eliar. This is good. Okay, so far so good. I'm actually quite happy with these patch notes. Next is fixed an issue where Savage Orc garrison buildings weren't enabling minor settlement battles, okay. Fixed an issue where environment types would sometimes display incorrectly in battle. This includes Dark Elves, Greenskins, Ogre Kingdoms, and SKAVEN types appearing when they shouldn't. Yeah, this was something that was kind of common. I honestly thought it was just like due to like maybe it was supposed to be culture tied. Fixed an issue where Bretonnia's unique resource, Chivalry, would appear as if it was being granted to other non-Bretonnian factions. Never saw that, but okay. Attacking an army while in the ambush stance will no longer prevent your opponent from bringing in reinforcements. Okay, so they'll still be able to get reinforcements. This is strange. This is very strange, but okay. We'll have to see how that goes. The size of Monkeyman faction is no longer limited to one army. Very curious as to why that would be the case. Hell, I didn't even know that you could limit factions. Unless that was just like a bug or something, because that just sounds really weird. Fixed an issue causing the leader of the Bloodkeepers factions in Immortal Empires to be mysteriously absent on turn 1. Okay. Hopefully they fixed a lot of other issues. Well, we're going to have to wait and see here. Because I had some very similar issues in random turns. Well, we'll move on. Improvements have been made to unit coordination when queuing up to enter a single breach. Awesome, because if any of you guys saw that stream I did, I had a conga line of orcs. It was just very strange. Unit columns are now better spaced to prevent units from adjacent queues blobbing together. Cool. Improved how units move to prevent them from blobbing together while attempting to enter a settlement. There seems to be a lot of blob focus. Endgame multiplayer victory objectives in Immortal Empires now require capturing the capital of all other players not in your team. This resolves the issue of receiving both the victory and defeat screen simultaneously. That's a bit of a weird one, okay. And fixed an issue where one's faction currency would be replaced by another's upon reloading a save. Never saw that, but weird. Okay, so far so good. These are pretty general things, but then again, it was the general section. And yeah, it sounds interesting. I can't wait to see what the new landmarks are. I've got to check those out. Okay, we got rules and systems now. Offering to join a war alongside an endgame faction to fight a hated enemy will now always grant a positive effect to said faction's opinion of that deal. So far so good. Vassal factions will now join their masters' wars once again as intended. Great, because I actually want to play a Chaos faction soon, so that's all cool. The Sword of Cain dilemmas will now properly display the Sword of Cain item details in the dilemma panel. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's a way to get the newer players to see what they're getting into, I guess. So yeah, that's not too bad. Fixed a script error that could occur with the Black Pyramid endgame if the pyramid is controlled by vampires. No idea. Addressed an oversight wherein some dark fortresses were unable to build walls, resulting in unintended field battles. Yeah, okay, awesome, that's good. And finally, dilemmas that target a character with loyalty will now show the character's loyalty with the character portrait. Thanks, Shadowstorm 1985. I'm guessing that's a modder? So yeah, that was pretty good. A nice shout out to a modder too. AI rules and logic. The AI is now more likely to upset the peace treaty when far away from the player. Thank you. This is very cool. This is something that was desperately needed. And the AI selection of provinces to build allied outposts in has been improved in some cases. It would be nice if they kind of went into detail, saying, you know, improved how, but I guess, yeah, well, you know, it's a blog, they can't really put too much information because it would just be too much to read, and yeah, some stuff is just coding related. I don't know. And exploit fixes. Fix an exploit wherein the on-the-way teleport tunneling stances could be used to bypass the Great Bastion in Immortal Empires. I kind of like that, especially with Village, but I guess that makes sense. Still a shame though. We're going into races and balances now, so we're already moving quite ahead, and this is a section dedicated to crumbling for Tomb Kings, Vampire Coast, and Vampire Counts. So crumbling's damage was increased in update 2.2, but this change was not sufficient to counterbalance the high morale these three factions received in 2.0. With 2.3, we are slightly toning down these factions' leadership. Oh god. Find these detailed changes under each faction section. Undead are meant to spend a longer amount of time in the crumbling state compared to demonic instability, which is why the damage is low. It's a slow death. On the other hand, demonic units are supposed to break and then take a significantly larger amount of burst damage as they are banished back to the Chaos Realms. So what I'm getting here is that they're nerfing the Undead faction again, giving them less leadership. And this just strikes to me as this was done for multiplayer. And yeah, that's fine, but we need two balances. We need balance for multiplayer and we need balance for campaign. The campaign is perfectly fine. You already take a decent amount of issues when it comes to playing in hard, very hard, and obviously legendary. I don't know what this is for. I don't know. Obviously, you still have some modifiers that can get you more leadership, but it just feels like you're going to suffer more early game. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Okay, we're going to start moving on to the actual races themselves. We're starting off with Bretonnia, and apparently that Bretonnia is just not performing well in multiplayer. They're not doing too well in campaign either, if I could say so myself. So yeah, kind of makes sense that a few things are going to change. Let's go into the general updates. They fixed the faction color banners for the Chevaliers de Lyonesse. They stopped the whole zero upkeep thing, which is unfortunate, and yeah, something about the Regiment of Renown. What happened to the horse colorization? This is coming back, right? Because it's just kind of annoying seeing every horse kind of look the same. When it goes to the units themselves, some cost reduction, which is always good. Some extra bonus versus infantry for the foot squires, which is again cool. And the abilities, Formation Lance. This is getting a nice little bit of a bonus. I'm actually quite happy. I hope it's not just for multiplayer. I hope it's for campaign too. Because Lance Formation is a really big thing. It was on the tabletop. You could do a lot of damage in Lance Formation. So it's kind of important for this here. If this is the case, I might actually play a Bretonnian campaign soon. Dark Elves are getting a few changes here, so let's talk about the dev note first. We've identified some issues with the recent changes to the Dark Elf slave mechanic, including the much too aggressive slave decline rate on certain buildings, the slave cap being too restrictive, and the dictats losing their lustre much too quickly, among others. They've got some changes coming in. The first stuff is just basically focused around animations, so that's all cool. And slave mechanic updates, here we go. Decrease the slave decline rate on the income and port buildings so that it scales linearly. My cat just decided to slam into the microphone. Increase the base slave cap by 500, so far so good. Added an effect to Hellebron that grants an additional 500 base slave cap. Makes sense for Hellebron's faction, to be honest. The upgrade free technology now additionally decreases slave consumption by 25%. Ooh, okay, so far so good. I'm actually liking these changes. Dark Elves now gain slaves through raiding in proportion to the income of the raided region and the strength of the raiding army. Again, really, really good. I'm actually quite happy about this, and then just some changes to multiplayer, which is actually for a multiplayer campaign. So you can see that there, it's just, it's working the same way essentially. So far I'm feeling quite confident. These changes actually seem really, really good, and the Dark Elves did desperately need a little bit of help. No changes to the Dwarfs, but that's perfectly fine. They do need a proper update, but that's going to have to come with DLC. And Cafe, this is kind of cool. So they did an update in 2.2, which was, you know, you couldn't interchange certain buildings that were yin and yang. That's now been removed because people complained, and that's a really good thing because yeah, it was just way too restrictive, so I'm really happy that Creative Assembly did listen to criticism there. And finally added a yin and yang indicator to Lords and Heroes drop-down panel, which is also quite good. They've nerfed formation attack though, for melee, which is a bit weird. But yeah, overall, happy with Grand Cafe getting that fixed up. It's going to make them a bit more enjoyable now. Okay, greenskins, not really a lot of changes, mostly visual though. There is a little bit of a change here for Grom though. So Grom has a different starting enemy. Instead of Paravon, it's now Aquitaine, which is pretty good because that means that you won't be fighting with Orion for the same locations, as it means that you'll be a bit fine when it comes to Orion. He'll still declare war on you likely within a few turns, but it won't be, you know, him trying to get for the same settlement that you are, and yeah, causing issues there. And getting rid of the thing where you could cook multiple items in the same turn, which is a bit of a shame because it was broken and it was fun, but yeah, it was an exploit. No changes to Khorne, and I feel like a few changes should come in, but hey, maybe next patch. And when it comes to High Elves, it's mostly texture updates, stuff like that needed to get fixed really, because visually it was kind of bad. And Tyrion's Sunfang quest battle will now spawn all the required enemies so you can actually complete it. Pretty interesting here though that some technology will now provide small bonuses upon research. It would be nice if they actually just said what the bonuses were, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Moving on to Kislev, again, more issues with textures and stuff. Was there really that many issues with clipping? I've not noticed. Absolutely weird, and I've played this game a lot. Wow, I really need to get close up to units more. Funny enough, I've just realized that the Beastmen aren't included here, and I do know that they have massive clipping issues, so it's actually kind of weird. Anyways, if we go into campaign, they fixed an issue where the armor of Ursun wasn't being awarded to Boris, so that's good. Festus, a threat to the Kislevian border, Kislevite, not Kislevian, has been added to Katerin and Constantine's long victory objectives. Okay, cool. Why Kislevian? I know, I'm being pedantic here, but like, it's Kislevite. It's always been Kislevite. Sorry, that's more the old Hammer person in me for anything else. And finally, for Boris Ursus, the War Host of the Apocalypse target will no longer be a long victory objective and will remain exclusively a short victory objective. What does that fix? I'm very confused. Anyways, let's move on to the Lizards. Again, a lot of stuff, just kind of fixing up some textures and stuff, and animations and stuff. I'm happy that they're doing this. I'm surprised there were so many issues there. And when we go to campaign, Tehenowin will now gain sacrificial offerings when looting, sacking settlements as it was in Warhammer 2. Awesome, very happy about that. And the spawned army from Nakai's lingering pestilence dilemma now spawns with buildings. Awesome. Okay, yeah, not too bad. I'm actually quite happy about that. Nakai could do a little bit of help too. Not too many changes coming to Norska really, other than the fact that they fixed the issues with the monster hunt breaks, so that's cool. I'm really happy about that because it's a big thing for Norska. And Karl the Tormentor now actually has a proper Chaos Dragon mount. Some, like, you know, reduction when it comes to... Actually, no. Nerfs when it comes to multiplayer costs, but that's it. No big changes to NURGLE, which is kind of disappointing. They could really do a little bit of a increase in cash, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait. The Great Unclean One units, though, yeah, it's the unit version. They're getting a nice bit of a buff, they're getting extra armor, entity radius is being reduced, which means that they won't be taking too much damage if they're held down, and increased splash attacks. This is good, actually. This is really, really good. Now they might be a bit more useful. I mean, they're still probably, yeah, I think they're probably the worst Greater Demon unit, but hey, it's still a little bit of a fix. Same thing with Ogre Kingdoms, not a lot of changes here. Let me just see here. They now accept allies, blah, blah, blah. It's more just, yeah, it's nothing, really. Barring the whole thing about an ogre contract being issued by a vassal targeting their master. I kind of liked that, though. I thought that was kind of roleplay-ish, like a vassal trying to break free. But apparently that wasn't intended. Okay. Not a lot of big SKAVEN changes. We've just basically got the SKAVEN contracts will no longer reset when loading a save. Didn't even know that was a thing. SKAVEN plagues will now apply the correct set of effects to armies. Okay, cool. That's all right. Again, more animation stuff. I feel like this is going to focus very heavily on animations. Fixed an issue where a hero would not spawn from a Rite of Doom if the target to spawn was under siege. Okay. Yeah, that was something that I think I reported myself, among others. And then multiplier costs, mostly multiplier costs. Yeah, but it actually affects the recruitment costs. So some things are getting cheaper, one thing is getting more expensive, which is the Poison Wing Globadiers. Yeah, it's not bad. Making stuff a bit cheaper is going to be useful, especially for the Doom Flares, which I actually really enjoy using. 100 is actually quite fair. Yep, I can't complain about this. No changes to Slaanesh. Well, nothing too big. They're just getting nerfed a little bit in terms of multiplier cost, but I feel like Slaanesh is in a very good place, so I can't really complain. Not a lot of changes to the Empire once again. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but we do have a bunch of nerfs coming up very soon. Other than the fact that they fixed an issue where the number of Empire Runefang weapons were being locked to specific legendary lords. Thanks for nothing, Carl. I guess that means that the ones for Solon, the ones for Reichland, and the one for Middenheim can now be moved to other characters. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. And then again, more different like animation things and stuff, which is just absolutely bizarre. They've added Perfect Vigor to the Steam Tank, which I actually think makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And actually, this is a very good change. Karl Franz no longer has a leadership booster ability, skill. Instead, he's got extra health with tenacity, which makes sense considering that he can also become unbreakable, so you don't actually have to waste a skill point. Yeah, okay, I'm happy about this. Nothing for the Tomb Kings other than the fact that they're getting a lot of leadership nerfs, which we're going to have to wait and see and play for ourselves to see how this goes, but I don't think that this is a good thing. I think this is fairly drastic. I think it's, again, for purposes for multiplayer, because they're the same modifiers, but we're going to have to wait and see. Also, Realm of Souls is getting nerfed by half to 0.2% healing. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. It's just seems a bit drastic, especially since all the undead factions are going to get hit by that. Nothing really with Siege, except for the whole Winds of Magic manipulation now lining up with the correct provinces, so that's perfectly fine. Vampire Coast is actually getting a bit of a bonus, but also attached to a negative. So leadership is being tanked, as you can tell, but increase the size of the raised dead pools and make them scale in relation to the Chaos Corruption, the normal corruption, Vampiric Corruption for the Vampire Coast. They're now in line with the Vampire Counts. This is actually a good thing, as, yeah, it was noticeable that they got less, and I'm actually kind of happy about this, because that might make them a tad more viable with corruption being high. Or at least I very much hope so, because right now the Vampire Coast are starting to feel dated. It just kind of feels like it. I don't know why, but they just feel kind of dated. Then with the Vampire Counts, the same thing. I don't know, maybe I'm just worried because 3 factions are getting such big nerfs at the same time. I don't know, but it's a lot of leadership drops. I mean, on the plus side, this means I get to play as the undead factions and just test it out, but it just seems a little drastic overall. They don't seem too bad with the vampire counts, maybe because the vampire counts had such a great way of getting armies up and going, you know, with the whole corruption system, but the Tomb Kings recruit in the traditional sense, that's why. But vampire counts, I guess, won't suffer too much. And finally, no big changes when it comes to the Warriors of Chaos and the Wood Elves. The Warriors of Chaos, well, Be'lakor gets his missing spells, so that's cool. I'm actually quite happy about that. Well, yeah, that's it for the Warriors of Chaos, I guess. barring just some changes to multiplier again, but I don't really care about multiplier. And when it comes to the Wood Elves, I think the biggest change here is the fact that Dryker can now get the legendary hero back, because that's been a thing for like 3 months or more that we've been waiting. So yeah, cool. Nothing in the campaign section that's worth talking about, just fixing some issues with unit cards and stuff, which I'm happy that they're fixing, especially for the prologue, because the prologue still stands as the best thing that's come out of Warhammer 3 in terms of the base game without Immortal Empires. We're going on to the battle section now, and this is quite important because they're going to change the AI behavior. So let's look at this. Proactive evasion, right? This behavior refers to the AI's willingness to proactively evade incoming damage from spells, artillery, projectiles, and light projectiles when fighting in settlements. Whereas before, the AI was proactively trying to evade spells and artillery regardless of difficulty setting, this behavior will now change based on the selective difficulty. Okay, so in easy, they won't try to evade stuff, which I guess kind of makes sense. It's supposed to be easy mode. Or normal, when possible, the AI will try to evade any direct damage from incoming spells. Hard difficulty, evasion enabled against spells and light projectiles when fighting in settlements. Wasn't the issue not just settlements, but land battles too? I don't know, let's carry on. When possible, the AI will try to evade any direct damage from incoming spells and light projectile when fighting in settlements. Again, it's a bit weird. Very hard. So evasion enabled against spells, artillery, light projectiles when fighting in settlements. So they'll try evade once again. Okay, yeah, it makes sense. You know, make them a bit smarter when it comes to that, so far so good. And obviously this difficulty setting is battle, not campaign. Ranged unit target selection. This behavior refers to the AI's willingness to selectively target and will be impacted based on the following difficulty settings. So on easy, the AI range units will shoot the first enemy unit encountered. Okay, again, makes sense. They won't try to go for flankers and stuff. The same thing for normal, which again makes sense. On hard, this is when things change. When possible, the AI will prioritize shooting soft targets first, you know, the weaker stuff that will start to melt. And soft targets are units that the AI deems easy to damage. Yeah, you know, that's what I said before. And very hard. When possible, the AI will try to focus on a single enemy unit, so they will start to aim at you. When possible, the AI will prioritize shooting soft targets first. Even better, so they'll go for spellcasters and stuff like that. And the AI will deprioritize shooting against very evasive enemy targets. So it should, in theory, get smarter to be able to, you know, if you're moving around too quick, if you've got like a Lord and a Manticore. I'm rather curious to see how this goes. It takes away a little bit of the cheese, that's for sure, but we'll see. Alright, other notes. All these aforementioned behaviors already exist in battles, but are now changeable with battle difficulty settings. This is a good thing, I think. It's going to make easy campaigns easier for people who just want to have a bit of a chill time. The priority and urgency at which the AI will try to enact these behaviors is not absolute, meaning that if the AI has more critical tasks queued up, it will execute them first. Yeah, kind of makes sense, because Total War AI is not like very easy to work with from what I've seen with testing and stuff. So yeah, that's okay, really. So for example, if a unit is engaged in melee combat, it will try to resolve the outcome of that interaction before trying to evade artillery units. Again, that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like how it worked on the tabletop anyway, so this is actually kind of cool. In multiplayer context, the host's battle difficulty will apply to everyone. Oh, okay, yeah. And this is just the first iteration of this system, and they work to refine this, which kind of makes sense. All in all, I'm kind of happy about this, honestly. I want to see how it goes, because at the end of the day, things could radically change, but so far, so good. And general updates. AI units are no longer able to phase through the rocks on the Badlands battle maps, yeah. Yeah, that was weird. And someone actually pointed out they got a little bit of a shout out there. That's cool. Now there's some basic stuff with graphics, audio, and UI. Nothing that I really think is too important to talk about, but hey, it's great that it's getting fixed up. It's probably stuff that could bother some people, but it's just really just like vocalization, porthole fixes, which I kind of like the derpy portholes that we were getting because of bugs. To be honest, I thought it added a lot of humor. And we do have a little bit of a looking forward section, which is just telling us that this is the final big update. They will do a little bit of a small update should any problems arise, and that we will be getting a state of the game update next month and a roadmap. Okay, cool. This is actually good. well, I hope they actually keep it to next month, and next month is December, so likely before they close down for Christmas, which is usually around the 16th, I want to say. I really think it's more or less around that. I don't know. I don't think this was the most needed update. Like, yeah, they did fix some very important things, and I'm really glad those things came out. This, again, kind of felt like it's kind of more geared towards multiplayer. I'm not too sure how much the multiplayer basis is, but I remember Creative Assembly once stating it was like 5%. But I imagine it must be drastically higher now since the player base has kind of gone down a bit. But mind you, that's not because of the game, or it could be a bit because of the game. It's just a lot of stuff that's been coming out lately. Like, I've been playing a lot of Darktide myself. I've been really enjoying Darktide. But yeah, I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling hopeful. State of the game next month and a roadmap is probably going to be enough to get people hyped up, and I think that's really, really important. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We'll start a bit of discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. By the way, when this video goes out, I won't be streaming Darktide. I've got some stuff to do, so I might start a little bit later. But hey, I'll play it by ear, and I'll let you guys know in the pinned comment as usual. But with all that being said, have a nice day, guys, and I shall see you all again very, very soon.